What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Discussion Lounge. We got another episode, and we actually got Heezy, professor of philosophy, back in the house. Thank you so much for joining us, Hector. We also got Gio, the master of engineering, here with us. And we're going to talk some Spotify. It looks like there's been a big rift going on between Spotify, Joe Rogan, Neil Young, and now Joni Mitchell, I believe it is, and a couple other artists that are deciding to pull their content off of Spotify because of Joe Rogan's controversial views on the vaccine, misinformation, all kinds of stuff going on, right? So we wanted to talk about that. Unfortunately, we couldn't have some of the people who were disagreeing with me on Facebook on today, even though I did invite them on. They weren't able to make it, so we're gonna have to kind of see if we disagree on some points here within ourselves. Usually, we seem to be on the same page on stuff, but let's see if we can find some disagreement here. So for those of you who don't know, right, because Joe Rogan has been spreading all this vaccine misinformation, right? Neil Young, a famous artist, has pulled his music, or I guess he asked Spotify to either choose to pull his music or to pull Joe Rogan off of the platform. Spotify obviously chose Joe Rogan because of his huge following. And Neil Young has now taken his music off of Spotify, or Spotify obliged him and took his music off of Spotify. And now the same thing is happening with a couple of other artists who, aren't really huge. They used to be big back in the day, and just I think just too much time has passed, and they're no longer as relevant as they thought they were. So yeah, I mean, Spotify, I guess, has no problem taking their music off and making sure that their big money maker Joe Rogan stays on. So just real quick, in 2020, Joe Rogan signed a licensing deal for over $100 million, which was one of the largest licensing deals to date, right? And it looks like 11 million listeners per episode. Which is crazy, right? This guy is blowing up everything that he does, right? And there's even a thing called the Rogan effect, right? Where somebody who's not very known will go on to the Joe Rogan podcast, and then the day after, like, they've got all these like views on their content, and like, so many subscribers, like, flock over to their stuff and check them out. So what had happened with some of these Facebook interactions that I had was, one of our friends decided that he was going to leave the Spotify platform as well over this. And it looked like another one of our friends who I used to actually do some activism with. He agreed with it, and I was just trying to see where they were coming from and what like the goal is, I guess, because I just don't see it, right? So I wanted to see if any of you guys had anything to say, but let's first watch the Joe Rogan apology and see what we can gather from this. If you guys want me to pause at any moment, let me know. That way you can throw in your 2 cents, and I'll go ahead and pause the video, huh?
Hello, friends. I wanted to make a video to address some of the controversy that's been going on over the past few days. And first of all, to say thank you to everyone that sent love and support. I truly, truly appreciate it. And it's been very nice to hear from you. I wanted to make this video, first of all, because I think there's a lot of people that have a distorted perception of what I do, maybe based on sound bites or based on headlines of articles that are disparaging. The podcast has been accused of spreading dangerous misinformation, specifically about 2 episodes, a little bit about some other ones, but specifically about 2. One with Dr. Peter McCullough and one with Dr. Robert Malone. Dr. Peter McCullough is a cardiologist, and he is the most published physician in his field in history. Dr. Robert Malone owns 9 patents on the creation of mRNA vaccine technology and is at least partially responsible for the creation of the technology that led to mRNA vaccines. Both these people are very highly credentialed, very intelligent, very accomplished people, and they have an opinion that's different from the mainstream narrative. I wanted to hear what their opinion is. I had them on, and because of that, those episodes in particular, those episodes were labeled as being dangerous. They had dangerous misinformation in them. The problem I have with the term misinformation, especially today, is that many of the things that we thought of as misinformation just a short while ago are now accepted as fact. Like, for instance, 8 months ago, if you said if you get
Pause it real quick,
vaccinated, you
Ellen.
can still catch COVID.
Did you guys watch any of those two episodes that he was talking about? Because I'll be honest, I did not even catch one clip of those two episodes. So I want to know. Well, I've been watching Joe Rogan for a very long time, and like I sort of just pick and choose, the topics that I am interested in to watch. So I don't watch every single episode. And even if I do watch it, I don't watch it in its entirety, right? Because some of them are, kind of long, and I just don't have time, or I just can't focus enough to, do the whole episode. So I watch it in clips. But usually, like it's exactly how he's saying. Like there's people, someone comes in there and they have like their opinion, or at least they believe in something, and they just hold that position, right? And they just explain the reasoning behind it. Did any of those two episodes, if you guys seen it, show anything other than that? Like the guests, like sort of saying like, no, like you guys are all like, the public is wrong, we got to change it, and sort of like advocating for that.
So I've seen some of the one with Sanjay Gupta, and I think that's the one where he was explaining to him that CNN was like straight up lying about like the horse dewormer shit, right? And how
Yeah,
like it's not horse medicine, and how CNN just straight up lied about that, whatever. You're right that these guys are just coming on and saying like, yo, this is what I believe in, and they, somewhat sort of back it up with what they say, like their knowledge isn't right. But I think that the issue is that, and later in this video, because I've watched this already, Joe Rogan explains that he's not smart enough to counter if these fools are saying something wrong, right? Because these fools are on some science shit, right? And Joe Rogan
yeah,
is not a scientist, right? He's not a physician. He's not a fucking whatever you need to be able to fucking counter the information that these dudes with degrees, or with knowledge in the field are coming at him with. So unless he has somebody sitting across from him that is an expert in the same field to counter, then it's kind of like you're just allowing this food to kind of like to steamroll the conversation, right?
yeah. And this, and I'm sure you'll explain the video, but like, well, he kind of, in his opening like statement, basically, like, I think he was speaking to the people that either like don't understand exactly what the Joe Rogan experience is about, and either never seen it before, so they have no clue what the structure is, right? Because usually, like in a podcast, like you have, or just in general in a show, or what have you, on TV or whatever, like there's like an agenda, right? Like there's sort of like a structure, an order where you're going and where you want to go. And but Joe Rogan is just like, I just have this individual and we just talk. Some talks are short, some talks are long, right? And don't necessarily like follow a structure.
Yeah, and that's what he says. He's like, yo, like, sometimes I don't prepare. Sometimes I just have these people on, and, the conversation will go wherever it goes, and, such and such. But I think that when you're Joe Rogan and you're having people on your show, right? Especially when you're talking about something that's affecting millions of people, like across the country and all around the world, at that point, I think you have a responsibility, right? And that's what everyone's talking about, is that he's being irresponsible with his platform. Now, I am like you. I loved Joe Rogan before COVID. Joe Rogan was having some good shit. Like he was having really good conversations. Like whenever he had somebody that I thought was an interesting person or an interesting like celebrity or whatever. Like when Rodney Downey Jr. was on there. When he had Jewel on there. Her story was fucking amazing. He's had some people with amazing fucking stories on his show, right? And that's what I like to see. But as soon as it turned into the fucking COVID update show, like I was out. Like I don't want to hear about my COVID information from Joe Rogan, who's a fucking comic, right? Like I don't watch any of the vaccine episodes, but they've all kind of been about that lately. So no matter who he talks to, like it ends up being, oh, how do you feel about the vaccine shit, right? Or how do you feel about the mandate shit, right? Like all that shit, I do not get my information from Joe Rogan. And so
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
I'm with you on that. Like, if yeah, so if you're like, if Joe Rogan is like your main source for like, information about, the vaccine or anything that's like government related in terms of like health, um, I pray for you. Um, but yeah, like you said, it's not. I haven't watched any of those episodes. I honestly wish I would have, so I could say more about it. But just just going off what I know about him, right? Like I don't think he would. I don't know, man. Let's just, what? Let's just keep watching this. Let's keep watching this.
Gio, anything you want to add?
I also didn't watch the episodes that he's referring to. I would be down to watch a clip or two from those episodes if you guys have time after we watch this.
Oh yeah, for sure. We can definitely look into that. Let's watch this. Let's keep watching this. Huh?
Okay.
COVID, and you can still spread COVID. You would be removed from social media. They would ban you from certain platforms.
So that's not true, right? People were not getting banned for for having different opinions on masks or the vaccine, right?
Now that's accepted as fact. If you
Yeah,
said,
play.
I don't think cloth masks work, you would be banned from social media.
Not true.
Now that's openly and repeatedly stated on CNN. If you said, I think it's possible that COVID-19 came from a lab, you'd be banned from many social media platforms.
Also not true.
Now that's on the cover of Newsweek. All of those theories that at one point in time were banned were openly discussed by those two men that I had on my podcast that have been accused of dangerous misinformation. I do not know if they're right. I don't know because I'm not a doctor.
So that's the issue, right? I don't know if they're right. So there's a lot of good content out there where Joe Rogan knows what he's talking about because he's done enough of the research to understand the topic, right? For example, when he had Candace Owens on, he fucking grilled her on her stupid ass takes on climate change because Joe Rogan understands climate change, right? He understands that something's going on, that, climate's not the same fucking thing as weather, like these dumb motherfuckers like to think, right? And he's done enough reading on the subject where he feels like he can counter bullshit takes, right? And I respect that. But I don't think he's knowledgeable enough about vaccines.
I'm not a scientist. I'm just a person who sits down and talks to people and has conversations with them. Do I get things wrong? Absolutely, I get things wrong, but I try to correct them. Whenever I get something wrong, I try to correct it because I'm interested in telling the truth. I'm interested in finding out what the truth is. And I'm interested in having interesting conversations with people that have differing opinions. I'm not interested in only talking to people that have one perspective. That's one of the reasons why I had Sanjay Gupta on, Dr. Sanjay Gupta, who I respect very much, and I really enjoyed our conversation together. He has a different opinion than those men do. I had Dr. Michael Osterholm on at the very beginning of the pandemic. He is on President Biden's COVID-19 advisory board. I had Dr. Peter Hotez on, who is a vaccine expert. I'm interested in finding out what is correct and I'm also finding out how people come to these conclusions and what the facts are. Now, because of this controversy, and I'm sure there's a lot of other things going on behind the scenes with these controversies, but Neil Young has removed his music from the platform of Spotify, and Joni Mitchell and apparently some other people want to as well. I'm very sorry that they feel that way. I most certainly don't want that. I'm a Neil Young fan. I've always been a Neil Young fan. I'll tell you a story at the end of this about that. One of the things that Spotify wants to do that I agree with is that at the beginning of these controversial podcasts, like specifically ones about COVID, is to put a disclaimer and say that you should speak with your physician and that these people and the opinions that they express are contrary to the opinions of the consensus of experts, which I think is very important. Sure, have that on there. I'm very happy with that. Also, I think if there's anything that I've done that I could do better is have more experts with differing opinions right after I have the controversial ones. I would most certainly be open to doing that. And I would like to talk to some people that have differing opinions on those podcasts in the future. We'll see. I do all the scheduling myself, and I don't always get it right. These podcasts are very strange because they're just conversations, and oftentimes I have no idea what I'm going to talk about.
This is an interesting point that Joe Rogan's making, and I'll kind of defend it a little bit because I've seen other huge podcasters do this as well, right? I don't know if you guys know who H3H3 is, but they have a huge podcast where it's basically this guy and his wife. His wife's not really on there no more recently because they just had a baby. So it's kind of like him, and he did a podcast with Hassan Piker, who is the #1 Twitch political streamer, right? So this guy, his name is Ethan, I think, Ethan Klein, I think, from H3H3. Before having Hassan Piker, having this, this show where they're both hosting, he had platformed Jordan Peterson. So he had an episode with Jordan Peterson and was like, "Hey man, I kind of like what Jordan Peterson has to say. I think he's interesting. Let me have him on the podcast, right, and see what's up." Now time has passed, and now that he's kind of has his show with Hassan Piker, and Hassan Piker is a little bit more knowledgeable in what Jordan Peterson is about, was able to kind of school Ethan on it, and then Ethan pulled that episode off of his podcast because he's like, shit, I didn't realize that I was platforming like some controversial shit that I didn't really want to be a part of, right? So when you're Joe Rogan and you're doing the booking for yourself, and you're as busy as you are, right? This guy's got MMA. He's announcing for the UFC, right? He's out there fucking hunting elk. He's raising chickens. He's fucking cooking his own food, right? He's fucking raising a family of fucking 3 girls. He's doing a stand-up comedy around the country, right? It's very hard between all that to find time to research all your fucking guests, right? So I'll defend that, but at the same time, you're talking about some super sensitive shit, so you have to be careful, right? We only have 96, I think, or 94 subscribers on our YouTube channel, and when we did that episode on Kyle Rittenhouse, when I looked over it, I'm like, damn, we have a lot of information incorrect here, and I don't think it'll be a good idea to post this. And that episode never came out, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if we're doing it, I think definitely someone like Joe Rogan should be doing it.
But also, again, I guess I need to be clear if I wasn't, I'm not taking sides. I'm not on Joe Rogan's side. I'm not on Neil Young's side or the other person or the other artist who want him removed or remove those episodes, whatever the beef is, right? Like, I'm not taking sides. I'm just trying to sort of, we're trying to be as fair as possible, right, to everybody. But he, again, going back to his structure of his podcast, right? It's not like an official show where it's like, oh, we're doing a political show, so we need to get our political facts correct. We need to get our information correct. It's just, he said, it's just bringing people on to have conversations. Like, we have conversations, right? In private, say you, Gio, and myself, we will have a conversation in private. We will say a lot of we will say things that are probably not true. I don't think that's true. Like, oh yeah. And I think his podcast is sort of like a reflection of that. So on my end, I don't see nothing wrong with that.
Well, the thing is that they're not having a private conversation, right? There's 11 million viewers per episode.
Yeah, no, I understand that it's a podcast, right? But the way he's always done it, right? It's just I'm just gonna have a conversation with you, and we just happen to be recording it.
Yeah, but that's right? What I'm saying is also, when he disagrees with somebody because he has the knowledge to, he will. and I just don't think he
Yeah,
does in the vaccine like realm.
right.
Like that's what like
But you
you're
think
saying
if he
he's
did have more, but
yeah.
if he would have more knowledge, he obviously he would speak up, right? Or at least he would challenge
Well, that's what
like
I'm
those
saying. Like it's
individuals.
like he has right. Like, when he does have it, he's done it. So I think, like I said, we it would be good to go back and watch those videos. But there's a video already out where he disagreed with a dude, and then pull that shit up. University Jamie fucking pulled that shit up on the side, and Joe Rogan was wrong, and he started to backpedal and backpedal and backpedal, and that shit is like, yo, like, come on, when are you gonna concede, right? Like, you have to concede eventually,
Oh,
because
that. Oh, I think that's the video you showed me, right? Where he was like kind of like moving the goalpost.
yeah, he was moving the goalposts where it's like, oh, well,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
we're talking about young people. Oh no, we're talking about kids. Like,
yeah,
dude,
yeah.
how fucking far back do you want to go, right? So yeah, he'll so I think like that episode kind of shows that he's stuck on his position and he won't move even when he's shown contrary information. So it's like, dude, like, well, maybe that's why he's not challenging these dudes that he's having on, because he either just agrees with it already and doesn't have the knowledge to disagree with it. So he just does it. Gio?
I'm so sorry. Real quick. I'm surprised now that after what you said. I'm surprised that I know you said that like, oh, he's a busy guy, right? But this is not his first like vaccine episode. Um, you would think that after all these like episodes since the beginning of the pandemic, he would like have research, or maybe he has researched, more of it and how things work, vaccines work, how the virus is working, all the latest like news that comes up from studying the virus and the vaccine. You would think that he would have sort of like a like build up, right?
I mean, I remember an episode where he was like, "Oh, check it out! Like, look at my phone. I got all these articles, and it's called what did he call it? I think he called it cooties or some shit like that." And he just had like a bunch of articles based on vaccines, and I don't know where he's getting these articles, right? Like, I don't know what information he's looking, but it seems like to me like he's digging up like in the he's digging up in every corner that he can for the contrary information to vaccines being helpful.
Right. Gio.
Yeah. So I think that first of all, I'm not a huge fan of Joe Rogan because of just a lot of the guests that he has on. I'm not interested in, like, and even the conversations that they usually have, I'm not interested in. Unless they have on like somebody really cool, like that I respect, like Elon Musk. I'll watch that episode, just because I want to hear everything that Elon Musk has to say about what he's doing. But I do appreciate how he's kind of being humble right now in this video, where he's saying like, yeah, I've if there's some things that I've done wrong, and here's how I can fix it, right? Like the disclaimer and having like uh, guests back to back that are related to each other, right? That have opposing views.
Mm-hmm.
But I also think that there's he probably has like a strong anti-vaccine bias even before the pandemic,
I think so
right?
too.
Just like there is in like throughout the U.S. has been like that for a while, right? There's been an anti-vaccine movement since before COVID-19,
Mm-hmm.
and he probably like falls in line with that, and so his bias leads him to like want to defend that view, and then that probably leads to the guests that he has on, and his unwillingness to question and to do like actual research maybe outside of the show.
Yeah, because he's like,
I
out of all things, he's more like of a health nut, right? So he just wants to be on like, yo, all you got to do is be healthy. If you're healthy, like, you don't need that shit, right?
Right, right. Yeah, he has said that.
I have seen an episode though where he's sort of like advocating for vaccines in children. I'm pretty sure I could dig it up later. But I've heard him like sort of he had his the guy that like does all the research for him on the side during the podcast. he told him to pull up like a picture of like somebody who's like not vaccinated and like what it does to your body and how you look. Um, and he was sort of saying like, I don't know why people wouldn't want their kids vaccinated. Um, uh, but I did see a change in his perspective, like sort of in between the um the first like the first shutdown that we had, I think in 2020, like in mid like April or whatever. Um, like he was all for like he was super like on board with everything, like oh just follow what the CDC says, follow the what they tell us about masks, just stay inside, don't go out, et cetera, et cetera. And then I don't know what changed. Like he started getting more like I guess like cocky about like going to the other side. And I mean he even left like California, right? Because he was over it. I think like he was over like being indoors. Left.
Yeah,
He left to Texas.
as soon as the mandates like started affecting like shows, and he was like, "Oh, I can't even do comedy here anymore. What's the point of being here? What's the point of spending so much money on land here and all this other shit if I can't do what I love?" So yeah, he went to fucking to Texas. But at the same time, it's like, I mean, bro, you've been doing stand up forever. Like, take a break. Like it's not worth it. Like having all these people in an arena, and not knowing if you're fucking getting those people sick, right? Like, um, I mean,
I gotta admit, I gotta be honest that I kind of feel what he's probably feeling. Like I'm also pretty sick of being indoors and not being able to go to shows and
mhm,
do a lot of the things that I used to be able to do.
for sure. But like I think it's different when it's us who, like, we're grunts, right? Like we fucking work Monday through Friday, and then we get the little fucking time that we have to enjoy on the weekend. Versus Joe Rogan, who's been able to see like the entire world.
Hmm. Yeah, but then
And
like if he's
Right.
not having, if there's not people like him having shows or throwing on concerts, then we can't go enjoy it either. We kind of need, if like let me take the contrarian point of view, the like maybe right wing anti lockdown point of view, that yeah, if we want to have, if we want things to go back to normal, we need people like Joe Rogan or like bands to start putting on shows.
yes, but the thing is, things can't go back to normal yet, right? So you kind of have
I
to
don't know.
wait it out.
I don't know. We were having a discussion a couple of weeks ago, right, about how like why not have, now that Omicron is like the most contagious virus, why not have it just, and it not being as deadly as the other forms of COVID-19, why not just have it burn through the population and everybody gets in,
Because not everybody's vaccinated, and it could kill people that are not.
yeah, and so why aren't people getting vaccinated then? Is
Because of
not
Joe Rogan.
yeah, so then I'm like, if you don't want to get vaccinated, then maybe you got like what's coming to you.
Yeah, and a lot of people feel that way, but then you get into the fucking hospitalization talk, and they're like, "Oh, like you guys are horrible because you have no sympathy for people that don't want to get vaxxed, right?"
I don't have sympathy for people who don't want to get vaccinated.
I don't either, unless you have like some kind of fucking medical exemption, like that's real.
Yeah.
I don't care. Like, go get vaxxed. Fuck you, right?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hey, Gio, you said you said the phrase going back to normal. Like, is that like? Do you mean like just all out being able to do whatever you want, no mask, right? That's what you're talking about. Because we could, I mean,
Maybe.
look at like the NFL games that just passed like this past week. Full capacity, right? Like full capacity crowd, like no social distancing, even though it's supposed to be enforced, even though they say go ahead and like keep your distance as much as possible, but those seats are right next to each other. Everyone's supposed to be wearing a mask, but nobody wears the mask and nobody really enforces it. Maybe they do, but nobody listens, right? It seems like we're already back to normal.
Hmm. Yeah, it seems like you're right, and yeah, that's cool. I kind of like it that people are. we're already in year 2, and um, that this like the virus is not ever gonna really go away. It's gonna be endemic,
Yeah.
and
Oh yeah,
so
yeah.
what you need to do is get vaccinated. And if you're not gonna get vaccinated, then you're gonna get sick. And then the people that survive the sickness, will be stronger afterwards because they'll have immunity. And the people that didn't want to get a vaccine, and now they have to pay the consequences.
Yeah.
Like the rest of the world's gonna move on.
So this is
Yeah. So I
the
think
oh, sorry, go ahead.
no, yeah. I was just gonna say like, the and correct me if I'm wrong. Again, I'm not gonna be. I'm like Joe Rogan. I don't know anything about vaccines. I'm just a normal guy. That's not really my field. I just get my information from, the most reliable sources that I could think of, right? Anyways, but it's isn't like the point of getting vaccinated. Of course, it's like, just obviously to protect yourself and others, but like to sort of like speed up this whole getting back to normal thing. Correct? Is imagine from this point on nobody else got vaccinated. Like, how long would it take for us to get back to some normalcy versus if people got vaccinated?
Right. It's possible that you're like it's going to be like the flu, where every year you get a flu shot, and so every year, if you want to be inoculated, then you take a COVID-19 shot.
People don't even
Right.
believe in the flu shot though.
I know, I know they don't.
And
Hey,
like,
that's been around for like it's been
a
around for over
long
100 years,
time,
bro.
a
The
long
flu,
time.
the flu, yeah.
And so
Yeah.
you have a lot of people that die from the flu every year too.
And yeah, and the issue is too, Hector, like if nobody gets vaccinated from here on out, like our healthcare system can't sustain it. Like the amount of people that are getting sick and are clogging up the fucking hospitals is a fucking problem. So that's why it's like we can't just be like, oh, fucking, or Geo, right? We can't just let whoever wants to get vaccinated, and that's it. The reason why they're pushing it to everybody to do it is because our healthcare system can't sustain it.
hmm No, I think that we should get as many people as vaccinated as possible. I don't know if I'm on the side of like we should have mandatory vaccines.
I just
Maybe.
want
Well,
people
we
to
have it.
understand, right? I don't want to force them, just understand.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we already kind of have it for schools. Like some kids, like kids need
Yeah.
to be inoculated against certain things for schools. We already have that, so I would be in favor of that. And for the military, you need to be inoculated against all these things if you're going to join the military. Um, uh, but eventually, you're just gonna have to. Yeah, the world needs to move on, and the people that don't get vaccinated, then they're just gonna be left behind. You know.
Yeah, and then at that point you start arguing where it's like, hey man, you don't want to get vaccinated. You're clogging up the healthcare system. Then we shouldn't offer you care if you're not vaccinated.
Damn, that's tough.
Yeah, that is tough.
That's where the conversation is going, and that's where these anti-vaxxers are like, fuck you. You guys are saying that I don't deserve to be seen by a doctor if I don't vaccinate myself. And it's like, well, yeah, you're not believing in the fucking health science. Why are you coming to the fucking doctor for? Like, go fucking suck on a fucking gum leaf like a fucking panda bear does, right? Like, fuck you.
I wonder what the current vaccination rate is right now. How close are we to full vaccination in the U.S.?
Shit.
Not close.
Not close at all, I bet.
Not close at all, bro.
We're at least 50% there. Last I
I
heard.
think we might. I think we're
I think
might be a
that
little under.
that would be
50%.
like 50% would be amazing if it's at 50%.
Let's see.
All right,
What I would think.
go ahead and
Uh,
want to
yeah,
keep playing that
Gio,
video,
while,
Alan?
while you look at that, Gio, let me press
Yeah.
play on this.
Yeah.
Until I sit down and talk to people. And that's why some of my ideas are not that prepared or fleshed out, because I'm literally having them in real time. But I do my best, and they're just conversations. And I think that's also the appeal.
Doesn't everyone have ideas in real time? You ever had an idea not in real time?
Bro, all my ideas, time, bro.
Like, I'm gonna
You
save
know.
this idea.
Bro, when I do shoot around, bro, it's in real time.
Of the show. It's one of the things that makes it interesting. So I want to thank Spotify for being so supportive during this time. And I'm very sorry that this is happening to them and that they're taking so much heat from it. And so now the Neil Young story. When I first of all,
All right, we don't care about the Neil Young story. He just basically tells a story about how he used to work security and he fucking bounced from a Neil Young show or whatever. He used to take a black hoodie in case some shit went down, and he would just wear the hoodie and walk out instead of trying to like stop a fight or whatever.
Obviously, this is when he was young, right? Because he wasn't all like big and like strong and skilled.
Yeah,
and kicking your ass
when he was Neil Young. So we kind of got off onto the vaccine shit, but I want to talk about the Spotify shit.
Yeah.
What is the plan? What is Neil Young doing? What is the goal here? This is my beef. Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. I'm pretty sure Neil Young, Joni Mitchell, and all these other fucking artists that feel this type of way, they're all on these platforms. Guess who else is on those platforms? Motherfucking Joe Rogan. Motherfucking all these other fucking, super right wingers that are fucking like neo-Nazis basically, right? And people who are worse than that, right? Those people are all over the fucking internet. As long as they're not fucking violating TOS, like they're on those platforms, right? So what's gonna happen? Are you gonna scrub your fucking music from every like corner of the internet because there's problematic shit? Like, what is? I don't understand. Gio, like, can you help?
To be honest, I didn't really know like Neil Young really before you brought it up like last week. I've heard the name, but I don't think I've ever heard the original All Along the Watchtower. I've heard the Jimi Hendrix version.
Like a young motherfucker.
So the fact that he's gone from Spotify, I'm like, yeah, okay, that's fine.
Right.
His maybe he thought he would lead a movement against Spotify, and there have been other artists, I believe, right, that have come out and be like, okay, we're gonna get off too, but they're like smaller artists.
Yes.
So yeah, I guess, but I don't really care. I don't think we should pull Joe Rogan off of Spotify or like deplatform him. Like I'm not in favor of censorship. Like I'm not in favor of deplatforming like just anybody I disagree with.
So I have a feeling about this, and I'm split on it because I've seen the damage and been part of the fucking dudes that can be manipulated by crazy shit, right? I grew up fucking being a huge Alex Jones fan, right? I can go and pull up my fucking 9/11 was an inside job t-shirt from my fucking closet that I haven't fucking... I should burn that shit, to be honest. But there's still certain aspects of 9/11 where I kind of feel are sketchy, right? But there's a difference between Alex fucking Jones, who was spreading information so horrible that he got people to attack the families of the Sandy Hook fucking families, right? Saying that their kids weren't really assassinated and why are they lying and blah, blah, blah. That kind of shit is different from Joe Rogan having conversations and not being smart enough, or fucking just not, or being too lazy to do the research to fucking combat the ideas, right? It's like way different than he's had Alex Jones on his show as well, but he fucking sees Alex Jones as entertainment the way we all should, right? He fucking laughs at him. He tells him, like, Alex, chill. You're getting too crazy. Let's get back on topic. Like, he tries to steer the conversation, but Alex Jones is a force that can't be fucking reckoned with. Not even Joe Rogan. Because Alex Jones is fucking on some other shit. He's different. He's from another planet, right? So I think that Alex Jones type shit, fucking, Richard Spencer, another motherfucker who's out there on the webs, those motherfuckers need to be fucking scrubbed off the face of the fucking internet forever. But that's not Joe Rogan, dog. Look at, like, you can see by this video, like, man, you can feel how you want about Joe Rogan, but he kind of feels bad about it, right? He's like, dude, like, this is not what I'm trying to do. My podcast got fucking humongous, and, like, I don't really check it like the way other people want me to check it, right? Like, I have people on, I talk to them, it's chill, but fucking I'm not I'm not being bad faith on purpose. I might have some blind spots, but like I'm not trying to harm anyone, which is way different from people like Alex Jones, right?
Right. And just to piggyback off that, when I was trying to sort of make sense of all this, philosophically, um, I was thinking a lot about like the intention behind his podcast and
Mm-hmm.
what he's trying to do, right? Like 'cause I think that plays a huge role, right? Because like he said, like he even said it, like I get things wrong, right? He said,
Mm-hmm.
I get things wrong and I try to correct it. Like to me, that doesn't show bad intention. That just shows that, like, hey, man, we're all wrong at one point, right? What are you gonna do about it after? Are you gonna just keep writing it, or you're gonna make amends, apologize to the people you did wrong, or whatever, and do better next time. Clearly, like he's saying this in his video right now, right? And you could even like say like, oh, I think he's just backpedaling because he doesn't want any more heat from it, whatever, right? But I seen Joe Rogan enough times to know that like that's not him,
Mm-hmm.
like you said, right? But like you also asked like what is Neil Young's like, you know, what is his plan, right? What is he trying to get out of this? I mean, even if I like try to take let's assume that like yeah, like Joe Rogan is spreading misinformation, Joe Rogan is doing this on purpose, he is sort of going like the Alex Jones way about it, right? um so what exactly is the issue there, in the sense of like, think about you know think about this, like so the Washington Post wrote an article titled, this was like back when Donald Trump was president, right? It said Trump's false uh, or misleading claims total 30,573 over 4 years,
Jesus
right?
Christ.
So he lied or misleaded the general public, the world, with those lies, and it's just like, okay, what did we do about it? What did people do about it? Not much,
Not
right?
fucking not. I
Um,
never heard Neil Young come out and say anything. You know, like he wasn't making headlines like he is now.
yeah.
And I think
Um,
what you're trying to say, and I don't want to cut you off, but it's like performative, right? Like it's like I'm doing this, but bro, like there's politicians and lawmakers that are doing worse shit.
yeah, so that's where I'm going at. Like how, like, what is his energy like? Is his energy like, where, like, are you gonna keep that same energy, like, going, like, moving forward, right? Or is it just directed at Joe Rogan? Because if it is, then it just seems like a personal, like, right, you just don't like something about him.
Yeah.
um
And it's been hot to hate Joe Rogan like the last 2 years, right? Like they try to
I
cancel him
guess,
every
yeah,
fucking week.
yeah. um and to be fair too, our current president, Joe Biden has also said a lot of things that in his presidential campaign and up until now that are also false, right? I'm sure there's, not just sure, I know there's plenty of politicians that say a bunch of stuff too that is not true. Then we end up finding out, either months or years later, or right at that point. There's people that still believe in Santa Claus and say like, yeah, Santa Claus exists. There's people that believe in God and say, yeah, God still exists, right? So isn't that considered like misleading information? Isn't that considered like false information because we don't have all the facts, or we don't know if that's even the fact of the matter? People lie all the time, and so going back to my point, is the intention behind it, right?
Well, I think
Like,
why people are focused on why Joe Rogan is lying is because like it's costing lives, right? Like on the daily. Whereas like believing in religion doesn't necessarily like it doesn't
right.
kill people directly, right?
Well, my response to those people that say that he's killing, or he's misleading people that possibly like die, like, it goes back to what I said. Like, if your main source of information for your health and your well-being is Joe Rogan, then you have a problem.
Right. So when does like the viewer responsibility come in, right? Where it's like, bro, like you're watching Joe
But you don't have to
Rogan.
watch him.
Yeah, you
You
don't. And
you
you
don't have
don't
to
have to
click.
take what he's saying
You,
as gospel either. right? You could watch his vaccine shit and be like, whatever, you know, I'm not gonna get my info from him, but I'm gonna watch this episode. But because it's like all he's fucking talking about or has talked about in the last fucking 2 years, like what else are his fucking followers gonna do, right? They're gonna start believing that shit. If you say something enough times, they'll start to believe it. And that's exactly what happened with the fucking MAGA Trump crowd, right? If you say the election was stolen enough times, they'll believe it, right?
All right, so let's pretend. Let's just assume that Neil Young wins somehow, and they end up pulling Joe Rogan. Wait, what is he asking for? Is he asking for Joe Rogan to be pulled, or just those episodes,
Yeah, he
or
was.
just
I think
don't do?
he was asking like he's like I don't want to share the platform with him, so either scrub his shit or give me my shit back.
We're picking Joe Rogan, bro.
Yeah, they picked already. They were like, yeah, dude, go ahead, take your shit away from here.
Like we're looking at bat average, bro. You know, we're
And
looking
that's
at
what I'm
batting
saying. Like,
average here.
I don't know what leverage Neil Young thought he had when fucking people don't really listen to his shit like the way that they're listening to Joe Rogan, right? Um, I mean, you know, you fell off, son. Like, what else? What else can you say, Gio?
I have nothing to add. I agree with you guys.
Yeah. So yeah, that to me is like, what are we doing, right? Because I used to be that guy. I used to fucking be like, damn, like that was saying crazy shit. I don't know if you should have a platform. I'm more laid on that now, like more laid back, especially on someone like Joe Rogan, where he feels a type of way, right? It's affected his industry directly. It's affected like a lot of other industries of people who need crowds to see him, right? I do fucking Hector, you and I are in fucking tribute band, right? And we know that like they not doing shows sucks, right? That's something that we love to do. Music is our thing, like, and we're good at it. So we like to fucking, you know, we like to do our thing. Um, so I see how he feels a type of way. He saw a bunch of his friends that were maybe on the come up right before COVID, and they're not gonna get to see that, you know, that peak because they just haven't been able to do shows. And I get that he feels a type of way, but you have to be responsible with your platform because I don't think that you're responsible for all of your viewers, right? Because your viewers, you don't have control over who's gonna see your shit and how they see your shit, and because of that, I think you have to be more careful, especially when you're a figure like Joe Rogan. If I was somebody like Joe Rogan, if our channel ever gets big enough where we got Joe Rogan fucking listeners, right, and we got millions of people watching us, and I had somebody on talking about vaccines, I would have somebody on the same episode who had the contrary opinion so that we can have both and they could debate each other.
Yeah, he. I mean, I strongly believe that moving forward, like he's still gonna do his thing and have his guests on and not really filter anything out. But like he said, disclaimers, you know, ahead of the show is gonna say things like, "Hey, you know, this is sort of like a sensitive topic. You might not like it.
Yeah.
So
Contrary
be
beliefs.
aware." And then he also said, you know, he's gonna follow it up with maybe like an opposing view of whatever just happened, right? So like you could take this and then be like, well, let me catch this other one, and now I have two sides. So instead of just going off one to make up your mind, now you have both. To me, I mean, that's him sort of like he said, you know, like just learning, right? Moving forward, like
Yeah.
just if you made a mistake, I don't think he necessarily made a mistake. um I think maybe just it's sort of like, you know, like if you notice that one of your homies just was starting to drink like a little bit more, right, than usual, then you'll kind of like notice it and you'll be like, hey man, I noticed you've been drinking you know, a couple more beers every day than you usually do. What's going on? Everything cool? And then they're like, oh snap, you know, maybe they don't realize it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because they're so lost in whatever it is they're dealing with. So maybe, like, I think this is going to be the case for Joe Rogan. We're going to have to wait and see if he's, you know, really going to be about it and sort of go that way. Or maybe it just might discourage him, right?
Mm-hmm.
We don't know.
And also too, like you said, he's making this video. How many like right wingers or people who act in bad faith or like are real grifters, they would never make a video like this, right? They would be like, "Hey, fuck the haters, fuck what they say. My show's gonna keep doing what the fuck it does," right? Joe Rogan's not saying any of that. He's acknowledging, he's fucking admitting, he's doing everything he needs to do to let the people know that like, yo, I'm gonna do better, right? Um, and we all try to do better, right? Toby Maguire, he was trying to do better as fucking Spidey, right? We all try to do better, and he's acknowledging, and I think like that it takes a huge step in the right direction, and that's just the type of person that Joe Rogan is, right? I've seen enough of his content to know that he's a good dude. He's, I've seen him fucking cry over fucking animals when he talks about dogs suffering and shit. And I'm like, dude, this guy he's emotional, right? He's in tune. He could be a little boomerish, right? But that's Joe. And I just don't think that if you wanna have debates with Joe, if you wanna call him out, call him out. Battle him with ideas. Battle him with ideas that you think are the correct ones, right? Like that guy that he had on his show, and he straight up they went back and forth. He's like, "Bro, here's the info. I think you're wrong," and he's like, "Nah, I don't think I'm wrong." He's like, "I think yeah," and they double checked. Joe Rogan was wrong. Backpedaled. Okay, that shit's gonna happen, right? If he keeps having more people on like that, then more people are gonna tell him he's wrong on certain shit, right? It's just a lot of people that he has on don't really want to argue with him. They kind of just want to use his podcast as like
Yeah.
to say whatever they want to say. Um, but yeah, I don't think that Joe's a bad dude. Spreading misinformation sucks, and not a lot of people do it. Uh, I would say most people do it on purpose. They grift, they fucking do it for money, they spread misinformation on different platforms. They even change their complete opinions and their entire view.
I was thinking about how Hector said that if you, I agree with everything that you guys are saying. I think that the intent, I don't think his intent is malicious. I think it comes from probably ignorance. But I was thinking about how Hector said that if you're getting your information from Joe Rogan, then you probably have a problem. And it seems like maybe the entire country has a problem if they're getting their information from Joe Rogan, or if he is in fact influencing that many people uh, in this country, then the country itself has a problem. Especially like in the context of diminishing trust in institutions. Like I've said before, that I think that institutions in general are losing legitimacy in the eyes of the people. And hear my voice. uh, so if since since people are losing faith in institutions, they're turning to people like Joe Rogan for information. And I guess maybe we're just going through that phase in the development of our country where like there's a lot of mistrust of the government and of its institutions, and so therefore you're going to have a lot of instability, a lot of unrest, and turning to alternative forms of information.
It's funny that the institutions are the ones that have a problem with spreading misinformation, but it's the institutions themselves that like started it, right? Like they've misinformed us so much that we have people like Joe Rogan and people who flock towards people like Joe Rogan.
hmm there's well, yeah, the institutions, the government, and every like all these, you know, uh, entities have always spread misinformation. But I guess the difference now is that there's less trust in them. If you had gone back to like the 1950s, right after the defeat of Nazi Germany, the United States just won World War II. Everybody trusted the government. Anything that the government said would be like, yeah, that's legit, and because America is on top of the world right now. And then time has gone on, and we've suffered defeats, and uh, the demographics have changed, and people and the society has changed, and so now we're in a different time than we were before.
Yeah, and just access to all kinds of different information. Like you would think that having access to more information would make us smarter, but it fucking hasn't.
Right.
um Yeah, man. I wish
I
that
was have
the.
yeah.
Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, no, yeah. I was having a conversation with my brother not so long ago about what would like drive a person to like not want to get vaccinated. And we were trying really hard to come up with like the best excuse, right? Or like not excuse, but the best reason. And like somewhere along the line in that conversation, I told my brother that honestly, like at least for me, really, it it doesn't matter if you're vaccinated or not, or you choose to get vaccinated or not. I think what matters most is that you made that choice. Like you didn't like latch on to like what society's telling you, what your friends are telling you, what Joe Rogan is telling you, and just took it as like, you know, the final decision and you did it, right? Like if you could find a way to make your own decision, like you'll be able to live with that consequence. Like myself, like I am vaccinated, I'm boosted, so is my family, and those are the choices that we're making because me from the longest I told myself just gonna trust the experts because I'm not an expert, so I'm just gonna trust them, just like I do when I go get an oil change, just like I do when I go to the dentist. I'm just gonna put my trust in them, right? And whatever happens out of that, then I just have to deal with that consequence. And usually, there is no consequence, usually, right? Because these are experts. So I feel very safe doing that. But like I said, the challenge is just make your choice, right? Like do your research, make your choice, and that way you don't have people like, oh, they're lying to us. Oh, the institutions, the doctors, it's all BS. Like you'll have none of that because to me, that's just you putting the blame on someone else, right? You made a choice because someone else told you to do it, and now you're blaming them, right? So, but if you make the choice yourself, you only blame yourself, right? And it's a lot easier to do that. I think, like you forward a lot easier, and you won't carry all that hate with you.
I agree. It reminds me of like what LeBron James said when he got vaxxed, right? Where he was like, "Yo, I spoke to my doctor. We had a conversation. He said that this was safe, and I went ahead and did so." Right? Um, if you're in the NBA, I'm sorry, but like your body is worth millions of dollars, right? The NBA is not gonna fucking tell you to
Yeah.
get something that's gonna harm you because I need you to be good every night to make this team money, right? When you fucking play ball, and that to me, like that's always been like the grounding point for me, right? Is like, yo, always follow the money. The money's not moving right now. Why isn't the money moving? Because people are not getting vaxxed. People can't go to work. People are fucking staying home from work. People are saying fuck work altogether. Like the money is not moving. How does the government get the money to move? You get everybody vaccinated so that everyone could go back to work. So that the money can continue to move. It's that fucking simple to me. It's always been that simple to me.
Money moves.
Money moves. Always, forever. To the day we die, money fucking moves. Right? If there was some way that vaccines were killing people so fucking much that the government was making money off of it, they would do it. For sure. But they're not. That's not what the vaccine is doing. Right? So I mean, do what you gotta do as far as the vaccine. Do your own research, like you said, but um yeah, man. I think swiping people off of fucking platforms or trying to like use your fame to try to get somebody else deplatformed, I think is not the move. And I think it's actually gonna get people to like Joe Rogan even more, especially after this apology video. Like people are gonna be like, "Ah, dick. Well, people are just fucking being extra, right? Like Joe Rogan's not a bad guy. Like, and some people see through this shit, right, and see like it's that he does a really good job at making him seem like the everyday man, right? Like the everyman, like us, which he's fucking not. He's fucking rich as fuck. He's been rich as fuck for a long time. He's not like us. um, but I think that his ideas are not so crazy that you can combat them. He just needs to have people on that will check him a little more. All right, guys, I think we're good, man. We've been at it for exactly 1 hour. Gio and Hector, thank you for participating in today's Joe Rogan episode. We will have more to come. We got some uploads up there. Thanks everybody who's been watching our stuff. We've been more on top of it and making sure we have more content for y'all. Make sure you check out the episode with the Cudahy Alliance for Justice. That's actual, real fucking news that affects, real families and kids and people. And they still need your support. So make sure that you hit up their Instagram, their Facebook, donate to them, canvas for them, whatever the hell you guys can do to make sure that they get the support they need because they are literally protecting children from, having to attend a school that's gonna cause them like major health issues down the road. And they're trying to pull a fast one on Cudahy for being a small town who thinks that can't defend itself. But we have the Cudahy Alliance for Justice defending the people and the students and the community. So thank you guys for that. And make sure you check that out. Gio, Hector, do you guys want to sign off with anything before we go?
No, I'm good.
Ah, man, you're good, man. Thank you.
Awesome. So we'll be back soon and we'll have some other interesting topics to talk about. Discussion Lounge out. Thank you guys.